What if you were in a world where to survive, you have to keep going through rooms over and over and over again? Each room a different challenge. Each challenge a different world. How long do you think you can last? Or how many rooms can you get through before you give up? And what if after you give up and die, you go back to the beginning? You are trapped. You cannot escape. The only way to go is forward, through the door. The story starts off with a massacre. People dying left and right, and a group of people fighting what seems to be an alien. The group of people each have different unique abilities, and using those abilities they fight like a team. Someone freezes the monster in place, and two with their own unique abilities successfully cut both the arms of the alien. Within that brief vulnerable moment, everyone attacks at once, but our main character gives out a warning to not go in rushing, but of course, too late for that. And just like that, a lot of them die. Our main character rushes through the vines and activates his skill, and starts dodging with the best of his abilities. As he gets closer, the monster activates what looks like a laser through its third eye, and everything in the vicinity explodes. But our main character is shown up in the air and attacks the monster from behind, successfully killing it. As he and his teammates begin to reorganize and recover, someone stabs our main character in the back. Our main character looks at him in the eye and grabs him by the face. As he's about to kill him, his hand is cut down by another person, and then repeatedly stabbed by other people. His friends also got stabbed, and as a last standing effort, he jumps at one of the people and bites his neck off. Using his other hand, he beheads a few people, but ultimately he himself gets beheaded. Then he's awoken again. Not even death can be salvation. He takes out his frustration openly, and then we start learning about the world. Apparently in Spawn, it's usually always the same room. You can be spawned with other people or by yourself, and this time our main character was by himself. Since the first room doesn't change and he already knows the first room, he finds the button to press which was hidden in a wall, and he's reminded by the multiple times he died in this room. At first he didn't know you needed to look for a way out, so he just starved multiple times, and when other people were there they all killed each other. It was a repetitive cycle until they found the way out. He walks in a white room that seemed to have an otherworldly look. And then our main character, Lee Jung-hyuk, begins to awaken. When you're awakening, you get active and passive skills, and all of your physical abilities become unordinary. After the awakening, Lee Jung-hyuk's skills are displayed, and the final goal is also displayed, which is to reach the lowest basement level. But a weird line of text appears in front of him that he has never seen before. You can only have 2 active skills, but you can have infinite passive skills. Usually everyone gets up to 10 active skills, but only 2 passive skills. Even though having 2 active skills isn't the best, having infinite passive skills is almost like a cheat. He also got to choose a weapon. By choose, I mean a randomized pick. The random weapon he got was a pickaxe, which makes you think that it might be a bad weapon, but apparently you can get even worse weapons. After finishing all that, he's greeted by 2 doors, and he chooses the one on the right. After you enter and close the door behind you, there's no turning back. As his first challenge, he has to kill some zombies. Sounds easy on paper, but harder in action. As the zombies slowly step closer, Lee Jung-hyuk prepares himself. When they get close enough, they suddenly jump at you, which he already prepared for, and gets a clean headshot. In the past, Lee Jung-hyuk experienced hell multiple times, because no matter what you chop off, they'll still move, unless you hit the head, and they're also pretty weak against fire. Suddenly, a baby zombie attacks him, and he doesn't hesitate to blow his head off. After finishing the floor, he gets his rewards and advances. Going towards the next floor, he sees a person sleeping while sitting on the floor. Lee Jung-hyuk asks the guy what was he doing. Apparently he was waiting for someone to help him in the next floor, but Lee Jung-hyuk notices blood on the guy's hammer. Lee decides to enter either way, and then he gets greeted by a forest. It doesn't even look like a room anymore. There's grass, trees, and a fully functional ecosystem. Also, there's no ceiling and no walls, but there are definitely boundaries. They go around exploring. Lee already knows the gist of the room. There's a certain number of large spiders, which seem to be made out of wood. He manages safely to dodge the attacks. As he's doing the attacks, the other person that came with him observes suspiciously. Lee manages to get a hit, but not a good hit. Suddenly, the other person that came with Lee charges in and manages to hit the spider with his active skill. And then Lee charges in and helps. After defeating the spider, they once more set out to explore. Suddenly, a flock of spiders emerge and they book it. They run into a corner, and to save themselves, Lee starts burning the forest. The fire starts intensifying, and since the spiders are also made out of wood, they also burn down. As a result, They successfully finish the floor, and as a reward, he gets boots and a skill level up. Lee proceeds to get all the souls of the monsters. Souls are like level up points. You can use them to raise your level. The higher the level, the more souls are needed. And since Lee was the one who contributed the most, he's the only one allowed to collect the souls. Other people can only pick them after a certain time limit, and understandably the other person gets really pissed, even though he didn't really do much work, and suddenly jumps at Lee with his explosive skill. But he doesn't hit it in time, and Lee kills him, slowly and ruthlessly with his pickaxe, and collects his soul and weapons, and proceeds to the next floor. Entering into the room, he's greeted by 3 doors. It's basically a resting place. There's a shower, and there's also another door that leads to a merchant, and obviously the door to advance. The merchant looks like a ghost or a holographic figure, but that doesn't mean that you can touch him recklessly, because if any body part comes in contact, it will be taken. The trading currency is souls. After you make your choice, you pay with the souls that you have. After getting his equipment, he also receives food and water for free as a service gift. Then he exits to the main room again. Upon exiting and going towards the shower, the door handles rotate, and Lee prepares for combat. A woman walks out. He approaches stealthily and puts the pickaxe on her neck, and asks her to put her equipment down, and also her souls. She puts the equipment down but doesn't have any souls. And apparently he already knew this, because even if you cannot check how many souls a person has, you can check if they have or not. He asks if she has any other people with her, and it turns out she doesn't. And apparently she came from a different set of doors completely. Even though Lee chose B211 and she went through B221, they have somehow ended up in the same place. And that's never happened before. Either way, he decides to let her go with him, and they both advance. They enter a room that has 2 bodies, both hanged. In front of them are cameras that show a maze. Within the maze there seems to be a person who doesn't seem too well, and something seems to be chasing him. That monster is called a masked lion, and it doesn't seem to be an easy monster at all. The monster isn't supposed to be even here. Lee decides to make the only decision, and that's to advance. Even if it means he has to sacrifice the girl for him to survive, he'll do it. I'll stop here for now. If you're looking for a ruthless and realistic survival story that has a lot of unknown factors and an always changing story, then this is for you. To be completely honest, when I first read the story, I thought that the author will do the same thing and always keep those characters around, or keep the story in one direction. But not in this story. Lee always gets separated with the people he meets. He finds new characters and sometimes reunites with old characters. There's times when he's really OP and other times where he struggles. It's always an unpredictable story. And currently there's around 50 chapters. So if that sounds nice, go and read it. And if you want to find stuff to read faster, go to AHFax.net. You can also recommend your own. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you.